Hey everyone, welcome to Module 7, and in this module we're transitioning from focusing on quantitative research, last week was quantitative, kind of the numbers and the heavy stats type stuff, over to qualitative research designs. And qualitative research is, I think, really interesting. We see a lot of qualitative research, I think, in the counseling profession just because of the nature of the type of work that we're doing. But there's vast differences between the two, okay? And so that's why they definitely deserve their own modules here. And so I hope that through the information that I provided within the module, you'll have an appreciation for qualitative research designs, in addition to kind of what we tend to think of when we think of statistics and research being that quantitative research, the quantitative research designs. Also, there is a lot of content in this module, and you did have the chapter to read as well. So I want you to know that I put the information within those specific folders. So I wanted to divide out different ways that data can be collected within qualitative research, different methods of study, so that you could kind of dig into it a little bit deeper, which will help shape your responses to the discussion question this week. But you don't have to read every single word in every single article that I put within the course module. Really, a lot of it is for reference material, especially if you are thinking about, when it comes to your program evaluation and developing that idea a little bit further when it comes to the research design portion of that. If you're thinking of like a mixed methods, you could use some of the information from this module, I think, to inform that part of your paper, your final paper. So when we talk about qualitative research design, the one article that I have from Lisa Lopez-Levers, who actually was a professor of mine at Duquesne and is phenomenal, and just one of the best qualitative researchers that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting before. But that article that she had that I have on the module is really a nice, good overview of what qualitative research is, what it looks like, what it feels like, and the different types of research designs that those that kind of are focused on qualitative research might pursue. It is a little bit of a common misconception that if you don't like numbers, you don't like stats, and all of that's involved in quantitative research design, that, maybe qualitative is easier. And I will absolutely raise my hand, agree with everything that you read in the text, that is not the case. Qualitative research designs take a lot of work, a lot of effort from the researcher and the team of researchers that come along and work behind the scenes even within qualitative research design. It takes so long. Whenever I was working on my doctoral degree, it was kind of the understanding that if you wanted to get through and get done and defend a dissertation, then your dissertation should be quantitatively based and not qualitative. Qualitative research designs take a good amount of time. And it's because you're not just simply sending out, for one, you're not developing a concrete hypothesis within qualitative research, right? There's a lot of unknowns. It's very hypothetical and theoretical based, and there's more questions that end up coming from the results, if you will, of a qualitative research project. And that's part of it. So you're not ever getting into qualitative research thinking that I have this one question or this set of like 3 research questions to address, and I'm going to get a concrete understanding of whether or not a relationship exists, whether there's a correlation, whether or not there's a likelihood that something will happen in the future, or that it might occur in the future. There's none of that within qualitative research design. So you're going in not knowing a lot of things, and you're coming out of it not knowing a lot of different things. And so as the researcher, you have to be okay with that, I think. If you're more of a concrete-minded person, then doing qualitative research design studies might be a little bit difficult for you. So they do take a longer amount of time. You have to be willing to involve yourself as a qualitative researcher in a way that you wouldn't as if you're doing quantitative research, because you're getting so ingrained into the population that you're studying, the community that you're working with, whatever it might be, the participants in your study, you're actually interacting and engaging with these individuals. Even if you are just kind of that passive observer and you're not an active participant in whatever the event is, whatever that naturally occurring event is, you're still there. You're still physically present. You're still watching people interact and engage in their environment and then drawing conclusions from that in some way or another. So you're out in the field. These individuals will go out in the field. They will engage themselves into a community, integrate themselves depending on whatever degree they need to based on the research design. And I mean, qualitative researchers might actually just physically live within a community for years and through a period of years collect all kinds of data through observations, through videos, through interviews, through focus groups, through all of that, taking handwritten notes, analyzing all that information with teams of individuals, checking for biases as they go along. And so it's a process that's an ongoing process. And there's a lot of involvement in terms of what the researcher will do. I like quantitative because I get to create surveys or modify surveys that already exist and have been validated by somebody else, and then type them into a nice little program like Qualtrics and send them out to people. And then all those numbers come back to me and I literally put them into SPSS, a statistical program. And it's not like I'm sitting here doing mathematical equations. I'm putting information in, clicking a bunch of boxes and hitting run, and everything, including nice little pretty graphs, comes up for me in the matter of like a minute. It's amazing. So, that to me, I enjoy quantitative research just from the researcher standpoint, but I also understand the value in incorporating qualitative research strategies and sometimes doing a mixed methods design where you're pulling both kind of the hardcore data that you would get from quantitative research along with doing something like a follow-up interview with participants that took your survey but are agreeing to give you a little bit more information or content. So mixed methods research is probably one of the more common ways that you see an integration of, it is the integration of qualitative and quantitative research procedures, but we see that a lot in counseling research as well. So yeah, there are other things to consider with qualitative design. One, of course, that it takes longer. Two, that you have to have a team of individuals. So imagine, if you will, you're doing qualitative research, you're engaging with a community. Maybe it's an ethnographic study that you're kind of delving into a community unit, trying to figure out behaviors, patterns of behavior, where they stem from. You're doing that for a period of 2 years. Every single time that you leave that community, you go back and you write notes about what happened. You take direct quotes from people, you maybe do some taping or some interviews with key people in that community, and then you've got all this information that you have to then input into a qualitative data management system so that you can code it, you can quantify it in some way. So it does get a little bit, there's a little bit of an overlap because we're not working with numbers necessarily in qualitative research. You're looking at patterns. You might be looking at themes that occur across a span of time within one singular community or one group or one population of individuals. And then you're inferring from that information, what might be happening within that community. So, so you have to have other people to assist in that so that it's not just you and it's not just your personal opinions, your personal biases that get in the way of understanding and coding the data, putting like headings to different things, mapping out different concepts. So there's teams of people that kind of fact check, double check the work that's being done and how everything's being analyzed, so that the collective researcher unit agrees at the end of the day that, yes, there was this one common theme or themes that came from researching this one population of individuals over a period of time. So, yeah, I think that kind of is a very condensed view of what ends up being a lengthy research process within qualitative research. There's all different types of methods that I think are really interesting, but you know, to me, again, I love reading in the concept of qualitative research. Especially things like historiographies, where you're, you know, really diving deep into old historical constructs and events that happened, and you know, people's lived experiences from the past and then translating that into the future. Kind of the dramaturgy, where they're using theoretical or theatrical metaphors to understand interactions. That one is interesting to me as well. Oral traditions case study, again, I think is one of the ones that we see a lot within counseling, as well as action research. We see both of those used in qualitative, qualitative designs using case studies and action research a good bit within counseling. You guys know about case studies, of course, so of course we've heard about those. So so with that, I'll leave you guys to the rest of the content for the module, and the discussion board. I'll pop in and check out what your thoughts are and how you might consider framing your problem statement, or using your problem statement to frame a qualitative research design, if that's something that might be interesting to you. Not that you have to do that or would be expected to do that, but I want you to just kind of think conceptually, you know, different ways that you can provide answers to that problem statement that you've been working on and refining and developing for your final project.